good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Yeah, this is Mark Lampkin, still alive and kicking. And we've gone through now the majority of the month of March. And we're breathing a sigh of relief once more that Donald J. Trump is not the president of these yet to be United States of America. Though he's trying to creep back in ever so stealthily into the news. But, we're going to just kind of, push him to the side again because really he's irrelevant to what needs to happen to rebuild this nation. And so I just wanted to talk about a couple of things today that I believe are important, that I believe will put a foundation in place for this nation that has been truly structurally destroyed over the last 40 years since Ronald Reagan, the first actor who came on to be president and was a puppet to corporate interests. And he destroyed this nation. So whenever history books and others try to talk about Reaganism and the love of Reagan, trust me, he was a vile person. And his legacy, when told accurately, is one of destruction of the middle class of America. And so a couple of things I just wanted to share regarding rebuilding that middle class, which won't happen overnight, but will begin to swing the pendulum, if you will, the other direction. So we are at a point now where people are working and poor, working two jobs and struggling, living outside of any residence because they lost their job, either because of COVID or even because they couldn't afford rent that had skyrocketed. So there's four things that I want to just quickly touch on, and we can follow up in some other conversations. But one is the canceling of student debt. And some of us who are north of 60 recall going to college and it not costing you an arm and a leg and 10 plus years of your future earnings to get a college degree. So imagine again, if you will, that there are people who are 45 and 50 and even 60 years of age who are still paying off student debt. That's like a mortgage. With a home, you expect to pay a mortgage, and it's a 30-year mortgage, and you have a place to live, and you can use it as a asset, if you will. But student debt does not have that same ability for us. And it was structured over the last 15 plus years when it was deemed something you could not write off in a bankruptcy. So that means that credit card debt and other debt is deemed dismissible if you have to file bankruptcy, but student debt is not. So that tells you that the game is such that the corporate elites and the oligarchs in this nation want to keep people indebted, because if you're in debt, you are not free. And if you are in debt, you are less inclined to walk away from a job that is mistreating you. You are going to stay somewhere because you have this burden of debt that you cannot have dismissed. So my belief is that when we cancel student debt, and I'm hoping that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and those in his administration can really hear the call for this, because two things will happen when you cancel student debt. One is you take pressure and stress off of people and families who are burdened by anywhere from $500 to maybe $800 a month that they're paying off a student debt loan. Imagine having that $500 to $800 a month to spend on your home, your car, your child care, anything that would stimulate the economy, because that's the other side of this coin. Is that when you free up that kind of money in households, then that money is now free to circulate in other areas. And so what that means is that companies that are local will be able to now have people coming in, buying products, providing services, hiring more people, and all of a sudden the economy, the local, the state, and the national economies continue to grow because that money, which is now set aside because it's paying off a student debt, is available. So that's an easy fix, President Biden. Do it. Another one is something that, again, was going back to Ronald Reagan, who was allowed by Congress to tax Social Security benefits. So imagine, in 1982, 83, a person has worked 40 plus years of their life, have maybe some kind of pension from a company they worked for, and now has Social Security. And the first time ever, Ronald Reagan and that Congress approved taxing Social Security income. Now, that's not income generated. That's money that's being reimbursed because as a working person, you pay into Social Security. Your company matches that. So you've been working 40 plus years and you pay into that. And that, again, is a revolving system because when you're 25 years old, you're paying into a system that somebody 65 is now going to benefit from. Because now at 60 plus, I'm benefiting from the continuation of that system where people who are younger are paying into it as well. But why would you tax that income on people who are not making money anymore? And so when that was considered income, if you will, that was one of those moments where Reagan and those in Congress started to now cut a leg out from underneath the middle class. So again, President Biden, that's one of those things that you've got to look at, that you have to revisit. We have so many more people 60 plus and older in America whose lives are dependent upon, a lot of times, Social Security income. And so if you're having to pay a tax on that, you're not generating income like you used to when you're working. But to now have to pay a tax on that is unfair and unreasonable. It was unfair and unreasonable 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and yesterday. So again, I always want to juxtapose what it means when you have more income available in a community and a society that will, in a capitalist society, spend that money. So I used to get into conversations with people who thought that Amazon put Sears out of business. And I would often reply, I don't believe that people are buying washers and dryers and refrigerators from Amazon. The fact is that people's disposable, if you will, income has been reduced to the point where they can't buy that new refrigerator. They can't buy that new washer and dryer. So they're going to have to make do with the one that they're, dealing with that they've had for 15 years. So when you make income available, more income available for families in a community, then that money is going to flow in and through that community. And people will have businesses that will now make services and products available because of that. So again, that's number 2, reverse the taxing of Social Security benefits. Number 3 is something that has mystified me for a while. And it's after the 2020 election, we have seen now more bills being lobbied and being put forth in typically red states, meaning Republican-led states, to reduce, to limit, to obstruct the ease of voting for its citizens. So the John Lewis Voting Rights Bill, which is H.R. 1, it should be a no-brainer because in a nation that prides itself on being the beacon of democracy around the world, to put up obstacles to people's voting is unheard of. And it's unfathomable that that's right, you lost. So when you lost, you wanted to change the rules of the game. because you realize that when more people vote, people are going to vote in their better interests, which they did in 2020. So imagine having a citizenship in a nation and not being able to vote. Oh, I mean, if you're in a suburban area, you vote, you get in and out in 10 minutes. But if you're in an urban area that is often populated by black and brown people, then you now wait in line for 2 to 3 hours. And if you can believe it, the state of Georgia, I believe it is, has now put forth a law that will make it illegal for someone to come and bring water and refreshment to people waiting in line to vote. Right. Imagine that. So they've reduced the number of polling and voting stations in your area, and it is illegal for your son or daughter, grandson, granddaughter, or others to bring water or refreshment as you wait to do your civic duty and vote. So I bring water to someone and I'm going to get a ticket or arrested because it's illegal to now do that. What kind of nation would allow that? So here we are in less than 100 days of the Biden-Harris administration, and these kinds of things are going on. And what it is showing me, and I hope you, as we pay attention, is that the Republican Party offers nothing except obstruction. All they want to do is resist progress. They want to go back to the good old days of the 50s, 40s, 30s, when white men were in charge of everything. And that's the challenge we have in America. We have an issue where now more women are involved in policy making. We have more people of color, black, Asian, Latino, even indigenous people who are now in seats of power. And it is driving some of these folks out of their mind. But we can't go back to the old way. It didn't work then, and it certainly is not going to work now. So again, President Biden and Congress, you have to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Bill and make it permanent, because it should have been permanent. There should be no reducing that. Every person who is born in this nation as a citizen is allowed to vote. And we should make it illegal to put up obstacles to allow them to vote. How about we do that? The last thing is the passage of the Senator Elizabeth Warren's 2% tax on wealth. And when I say wealth, we're talking about those who earn 50 million plus per year. And for those of you who are close enough to me over the last 10 years, I've asked one simple question about income and wealth. That if a person is earning $40 million per year, can you live off of 20 million? So if you're the CEO of a company and you're making $40 million a year, bottom line, so your net profit from your company is 40 million per year, can you survive off of 20 million per year and spread half of that income, half of that profit throughout your organization? Meaning that you're going to pay your people better, because somehow over the last, again, 40 years since Reagan, it has been deemed important for CEOs to make 400 times the kind of income that a median person in their employment is making. So if you can't live off of 20 million per year, then I wonder what kind of lifestyle are you leading? If we really want to rebuild this nation, if we really want to have it be one that is not just surviving, but really thriving in a way that it did when Franklin Roosevelt created the New Deal, and when he taxed corporations and they hated him for that. But as I recall, he was elected to 4 terms as president because the people voted him in, because he took care of the people. And we're back at that place again. We really are. In the midst of still a pandemic that has not gone away yet. So for me, those are 4 areas that the Biden administration must address. They must address them soon, because I believe that the United States has taken on so much water, meaning like a boat or a vessel that's out on the ocean. At some point, you can't bail it out fast enough because it's coming in too quickly. And at some point, you're going to go down. So, President Biden, I know you have a lot going on, but you're bringing in, looks like, competent people who I believe need to push forward in a way that is unapologetic, because the Republican Party, when they are in power, they care not about any bipartisanship. When they're in power, they run the table. So I don't give a what Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham or Tom Cotton or Lisa Murkowski or even Joe Manchin, who's a Democrat out of Virginia. I don't care what they say. When you push through these 4 measures that are going to lift the people up, then in 2022 and 2024, when people are voting, they're going to vote again in their best interest. They're going to say, you helped us. That's what's going to matter. All right, well, that's it for today. Got some other things I want to do, but I just needed to share this because it's so important that we do what is important right now to lift people up. Because when you can put money in people's house and their communities, then those communities are going to be better served. And when that happens, everybody lives better. Everybody can breathe a sigh of relief. All right, that's it all. Take care. Stay woke. Be blessed. Peace. Oh, and do me a favor. Hit the like button. Subscribe so that when we produce more content, you'll be notified as well. Thanks again for tuning in.